Okay, take two. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Variety Views. Of course, I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, and welcome to episode 57. Last night I got to see the Lego Batman movie, and I thought it was actually really good. Not as good as some people might say it was. Going into it, actually, I haven't been into theaters in a very long time. Usually because whenever I go to theaters, and some people would hype up these movies and are like, this movie is really, really good. And I would go into those theaters. I sound like Brian Alvarez. I go into these theaters and get my popcorn, get my nachos, extra cheese, and jalapenos, and large soda pop, and I would sit in my chair and the movie would start. And okay, enough of that. Enough of that. So the movie itself, I right now I'm gonna give it a rating. I'm gonna say it gets a 7.75. I wouldn't say it's better than the Lego movie that came out a few years ago. I think 3 years ago. But I do think it is a well-deserved spinoff, and I do think that there's just the storylines. The storyline in this movie is just there are two storylines, okay, and they do intertwine. And I love how they did it um, with Batman's father-son relationship with Dick Grayson, and you have like this mini. Well, it's not really a mini. It's one of this. It's an ongoing thing throughout the movie with Batman kind of being the loner and can't let anybody in because he lost a family and he can't accept this new family. And I do think that it was very well done. There's some moments in there that I thought were pretty much a tearjerker. One of those things that were just really playing into your emotions. And yeah, some of them actually kind of got to me, and I was like, yeah, you know what? That's really good. That was really well done. I think the Michael Cera played Robin really, really well. Even though that I don't think that the character was done well, he did portray Robin the way that they asked him to, the best way he can possible for a movie like this. Even though that at the same time, Dick Grayson is my favorite character. He's my favorite comic book character, so I'm a little bit biased when it comes to him. And him playing Robin the way that he did kind of made me go, ugh, I don't know if they should do something like this, but it was one of those things that it was just like poking fun at the Batman lore and what they did in the comics and what they did in the old TV shows. So yeah, I kind of like those jabs, but at the same time there were just a little bit too much of those jabs. Batman's voice, I will say it to you. When you're going in there and watching the movie, expect to be a little bit annoyed by Will Arnett's Batman voice because he does that all the time. You had a problem with Christian Bale's interpretation of Batman and his gravelly voice? Yeah. This is gonna get even worse because he does that the entire movie, and he's in pretty much every scene. You don't get a breather from Batman. So, yeah, that really got on my nerves because he's in every scene and you keep on hearing that voice and he's just like, ugh. And just like and to the point where I felt like my throat was sore. Um I do like that also there is a theme in this movie where Barbara Gordon she's the new commissioner. Jim Gordon he steps down, and Barbara Gordon is the one that's anointed to become the the new commissioner, and of course she would. Um, so I do think that I think that was a good idea to do something like that because how much are you going to get of Jim Gordon? Even though that I do think that he's a cool character, but Alfred is already the father figure, so adding in Jim Gordon, yeah, there's a little bit of a clash there. Um, and so Jim Gordon wasn't in there as much, so you have Barbara Gordon. So I do think that there was some stuff going on here that was well done. And going back to my point that I had, and I lost my train of thought a little bit, and now it's back on. Barbara Gordon said that it takes a village to take out those criminals, and we don't need Batman. And I do think that that's freaking that's a huge statement if there ever was one to freaking DC Comics and DC their film studios as well as Warner Brothers. You don't need to hit the panic button every time something flops. Jonah Hex flops, need a new Batman. Green Lantern flops, we need a new Batman. Just we need to churn out these Batman movies. Superman is flopping, let's put him with Batman. If Wonder Woman flops, hey, we got Justice League. Just take off the training wheels and delve into those storylines. Just go at it and hire guys that are actually familiar with those storylines, with those lores, instead of just like bringing in a guy that has credentials in different genres, and you're like, well, he's done good horror, so let's put him in a Flash movie. It's just like, because I heard that James Wan, well, I think James Wan is actually going to be in the Aquaman movie. Not sure. It's either the Aquaman movie or the Flash movie. I'm not sure. So he's done well with the Fast and the Furious movies. So maybe that could work well for Flash, but I don't know about Aquaman. Anyways, um, yeah. So this is like spoiler free right now. 7.75. Really good movie. Really enjoyed it. There are a lot of jokes in here. Maybe too much. Too many jokes. Like you could have saved some of the jokes for the other installment because I do believe that there's going to be a sequel. There's definitely going to be a sequel. You can still jab into Batman movies, other Batman movies. Um, so there was just so much stuff crammed into here to the point where it felt like I almost regurgitated at the end of the movie because it's just too much of the good thing kind of makes you regurgitate it, as well as when you don't have enough. You shouldn't starve yourself, and you shouldn't over intake this goodness. So yeah, 7.75. Now, I got that out of the way. Now, for those of you who don't want any spoilers, you can leave now. And as for those who have watched the movie, or if you're planning on watching the movie, watch the movie. Stop this video right now. Go watch the movie and come back, and then continue this review or whatever. Um, Now here are the spoilers. Joker, played by Zach Galifianakis, who I think that he's a really good comedian. He's an amazing comedian, actually. Um, I think he did a great job as the Joker, but at the same time, I think the way that they did the Joker, it's the same problem that people had with Suicide Squad, where there's not enough Joker. Well, here there's not enough Joker as well. Um, and if you're gonna have a problem with Suicide Squad, you gotta have a problem. You gotta have a problem with this, or else you're a hypocrite. Because the Joker's not here enough, and I think you could have had like more scenes with the Joker and no Batman, because I think that's what made the Dark Knight trilogy so well, is that you had those breathers, or else you would be sick of Batman's voice. And plus, when Christian Bale was playing Bruce Wayne, he had that different voice. He had, you can differentiate like this character from that. When in this movie, it's like when Batman is Batman, and when he's Bruce Wayne, when Will Arnett, yeah, Will Arnett is Batman. When he's Bruce Wayne, he has the same voice, just like her. So yeah, that I had a problem with that. I had a problem with Robin being pretty much, what can I say? Like he was like I would say it. He was a twink. That's what he was. That's exactly what he was in this movie. He was a twink. And if you don't know what a twink is, you got Google that shit. And they did, and that's one of the things that I really hate about animated movies nowadays, is that they feel the need. And some people say no, this is the humor can be for everybody. No, the humor is not for everybody. It's that when you have a joke in one scene that's targeted for some people, and then the next scene it's targeted for other people, yeah, they kind of clash. And it's one of those things that really made me go, "Oh my God, this is wrong. This is just wrong." And one of those things is Robin. At one point, he has this, he has this reggae outfit, okay, and it's like, okay, that's how he's gonna get his Robin outfit, and he puts on the clothes, and he takes off the dreadlocks, and just like, oh, but these tights are just, they're just they're holding me from making it being able to move my legs, and then he tears it apart, and just like he just has those undies, and it's just like, oh, look at me, don't I look good? And then he just turns around and shows his ass, and it's just like it looks like he's wearing a thong. And I get it, it's just little jabs at like the comics, and just like, yeah, that's what he used to wear. But it's funny. But when you keep on doing this, when it's just like he's calling, and then Alfred walks in on them, and it's just like, why is Robin not wearing any pants? What are you guys doing? It's just like, okay, we get it. And then, like I said before, they have this kind of father-son relationship, and Batman accidentally adopts Robin. Like, how does that even work? Like, there's no paperwork, anything. But hey, this is targeted towards kids. Who cares? They're not gonna overthink things. Um, and he's like calling him dad, and he's like, don't call me that. You call him pops, and just don't call me that. Or how about Padre? And he's like, he's calling him Padre, and I'm like, yeah, the wide-eyed kid and the Padre. You really gonna go for that joke? And it's just, it really one of those things that really made me go, this is really kind of taking things away from me. Because this otherwise would have been like, I would say I would have given this, if not for all of that, if not for Batman's gravelly voice and him just being an obnoxious character. He's one of those characters that is just like, I think of him as being it. Okay, the perfect example that I will give for Batman, Lego Batman, that is he's Joey Tribbiani from Friends. In Friends, he was a great character because he was playing off Chandler, Ross, Rachel, Phoebe, Monica, everybody. So it was kind of fun. Then you gave him his own show, and it wasn't that good. It wasn't as good as Friends. And Lego Batman is one of those characters. He was great in the Lego movie, where you would have him in small doses, and it was great. But in this movie, you had him beatbox, you had him do dance around, and just like, I love the first song, like the first song that he had, just like, oh, Batman, just like, the it was kind of like a remix of the '60s Batman theme song, and I thought that was good. I thought that was well done. But then it just like it kept on going, just like, you know, um, okay, I'm gonna give you a beat. I'm gonna give you a beat. Come on, Robin. Come on, give me a rap. Come on, throw down. And I'm like, why do you have to always do this? Why do you have to always do this in animated movies? Because do kids have like that short of an attention span that if a scene goes by where it's serious, oh, you gotta counter that with like a fucking funny, scene, and just like, let's overdo it. Let's have a musical number. Have them dance. Let them do karate, and just like, why do you have to do that? You know, we've seen it work without all of that crap. Kubo and the Two Strings, one of the greatest movies, to one of the greatest kids movies that I've seen in a very, very long time. And they didn't take that aspect of, okay, we're just going to talk down to kids. It did it so well of having, the parental relationship of a kid trying to reconnect with his father. They did it so well there. And in this movie, it's just like, fuck. Seriously, like it's not on that level, not even close. So I will say this: it deserves 7.75. Okay, it still deserves 7.75 despite all the gripes that I've had, and it did show like Batman having like a huge rogues gallery. They pretty much showed everybody, not everybody, but the majority of the villains that we know of, and I did like that. I did like the fact that they did, poke fun a little bit on the lore a little bit, and Batman being like 78 years old, and but at the same time still, looking as handsome as ever, as like they like to call it. Um, I like that, but at the same time, it's like there is a limit to that, and not just that, but they did show like his rose gallery, but there were geeks. There were geeks in this movie. There were like the putty gang in Power Rangers. That's what they were. Instead of that, we had like Voldemort and the Eye of Sauron and the Wicked Witch of the West and the you know King Kong and the Doctor Who villains. The Daleks. They had the all these other villains, and I'm like, why? And those who help out Batman are the villains, and I'm like, why not the Justice League? You had them in a cameo. Why not? But they didn't do that. And I guess it's all for the sake of saying, hey, there's no villain in this piece. We're all going to be good guys. And they really could have done something there. They could have gone somewhere with those characters instead of like, okay, everybody's a good guy. This is not a movie for babies. Babies can watch it, but it's not a movie for babies. It's a movie for everybody. Everybody can watch it. So you can do great stuff and still appeal to a mass audience. It's a Lego movie, so of course it's going to make a lot of money. So you don't have to. Okay, let's be all goody goody. It's way too much. And the Lego movie, it was done so much better. And I think the father son dynamic was much better, in that movie than here. So I really think that they had a chance to make a great, not just a great Lego Batman movie, but a great Batman movie as well. And a lot of people say it's the greatest Batman movie ever. I disagree. I really do. So yeah. Not saying it was a bad movie. It's definitely better than like Batman and Robin. And here's another thing. And here's a question that I will throw out there. If this was released in '97 instead of Batman and Robin, would you have received it as well as you have right now? Because some people say this is a love letter to Batman lore and Batman fans. Well, Batman and Robin was a love letter to the '60s Batman, whether you like it or not. Joel Schumacher was a fan of the '60s Batman. That's what he grew up with. So he made a Batman movie on what he is passionate about. So yeah, if you're gonna be like, well, this gets a pass, but that doesn't, yeah, that's kind of hypocritical. You can't have it both ways, and you're like, oh, Batman should be serious and should be taken seriously and stuff like that, and then you see this and you're like, oh, but this was great. This is a great Batman. No, you can't have it both ways. Um, like I said, my grade 7.75. This was really good. This was definitely like a statement, not just by the fact that you can do Batman in different mediums, not just live action or animation. You can do it in Lego form, and it still would work. But I think it's a statement for Warner Brothers that hey, you can indeed do other characters. You can delve into other characters. You don't have to stay with that same character. With just whenever Green Lantern bombed, Jonah Hex bombed. You gotta come out with another Batman movie. Oh my God, what are you gonna what were you gonna do? We gotta bring out another Batman movie to make some money. No, you can still go ahead and do other movies. You can still do a Martian Manhunter movie. You can do a Flash movie. You can do, um, Hawkgirl, Hawkman, um, Booster Gold. If you really wanted to challenge Deadpool, you could have done that with Lobo. And hey, if that doesn't work, which I think it can in live action, and Deadpool did prove that, you don't have to have a huge budget to make a Lobo movie. As long as it's self-aware and it's breaking the fourth wall and all of that, I think it could work. You can do that and still make a lot of money. And hey, if you think that live action doesn't work, then hey, you can do it in Lego form. Lego Lobo movie. Make it happen. So, with that being said, Raycom favorite, happily subscribe. Check out my next video where I'll be talking about something else. Take care.